The market is looking pretty scary out there, literally on my watch list on the daily, the 7-day, and the 30-day. There is nothing but red across all of these top market cap tokens. You know, the small caps are also getting slaughtered. No liquidity at this point. But luckily, I have an expert to tell us exactly what is going on in the market, what he's seeing on the charts. Is this bull run over? Should you be exiting crypto? Stock markets are hitting new highs. People are starting to freak out, and we're going to bring you all of the outfit. I'm going to be joined by Kyle from, he's usually on the main Banter channel, sometimes on Banter Plus, but he is the man, the myth, the legend. We're going to go over everything you need to know about this market to set yourself up for what I still believe is the peak of the bull run, which we have not seen yet. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Let's get in the game. And as always, quickly like the video down below. Get this in front of more people just like yourself who are bullish on crypto and crypto gaming as well. Subscribe to the channel. We're pushing towards that 100,000 subscriber mark, but we need your help. Share this down below as well as comment your thoughts on the current market. I know it's scary, but this is not the time for capitulation. And a quick shout out to all of our sponsors here on In the Game. We have Moon Tropica, we have OnMe, we have Unioverse, as well as Blowfin. We have all of our exchange partners down below, but we'll talk about that here later in the show. Let's go ahead and bring on the man, the myth, the legend himself. Kyle, how are you doing today, my friend?
Hey, what's up, Hustle? Yeah, great to be back on again. It's been a while. Yeah, and I feel like every time I come on, the market is down, right? So it'll be great to come on one of those days again where we're having gaming doing the double to triple digit pumps. But I guess today's not that day. But yeah, great in yourself.
Today is not that day, that is for sure. I'm doing okay, other than what you just mentioned. My gaming coins are not doing the triple digit pumps yet, but it is okay. We have patience. We see the big picture here. So as always, I appreciate you coming on. I know last show, people loved it. The comments and just the feedback I got was amazing. So it's exciting. Honestly, I feel like it's great when the market's down to honestly bring you on and talk about these things, because so many people, as you probably see, YouTube comments, chat, you see on Twitter, people freak out when there's these big red days, and we've kind of just seen a big turnaround. We went from 58 to 61 earlier this week. Now we're kind of back at 58, high 57 levels. So I kind of just want to get your overview on the current market right now. What is your sentiment both in the short term and the long term? What are you seeing on the charts? And I know you have some research prepared as well. So overall, what do you think about the current market that we're in, and what do you forecast happening over the coming months?
Sure. Let me quickly screen share. So I definitely think we're going through a form of capitulation at the moment, but it's not really a price-based capitulation yet, but more time-based capitulation. It's that real summer doldrums that you experience when the US markets close, and through the seasonality point where ultimately, typically you'll see in the charts that it's around August, September, sometimes at a push into October, that you go through these seasonal corrections, because the main guys that are on the stock markets obviously close their trading desks and they go on vacation for the summer breaks, and the volumes are very, very low, and crypto is kind of a side thought, right? And ultimately easily manipulated. And through this long consolidation period, most of the retail participants fall off, and that's why it's easy to move the market both to the up and down side, right? We saw the big pump that we had last week on the weekly candle, and now we're about to experience a bearish engulfing candle. So I'll very quickly go over the thoughts. I mean, it's not looking good on the hourly, daily, weekly, or even the monthly is pretty much all down. But I actually believe this is a wonderful opportunity for anybody out there that is planning on being in crypto for a long period of time. For those of you out there who are playing the longer term game, which, to tell you the truth, is where most of your money is going to be made. Most of the gains is going to be made during these tough times, establishing your positions for the long term in rock solid projects right here, right now. And you can see, if you actually take a chart over here and you look at the levels from 2013 all the way to 2024 from a seasonal perspective, and you average that out for quarter three, which is what we're in right now. Of course, that ends at the end of September. That's historically the worst quarter that we've seen, right? On average, you only up 5.45% when you compare to the other quarters. Q2 up 26.89%, and on average Q1 56.47%. But it's always darkest before the dawn. If you have a look at Q4, that's where you put in those 88.84% on average, right, gains. And I think if you isolate this and you look at a post-halving cycle year, what you'll notice is that every single Q4 would be green and there would be no red. The reds come from the bear market periods in Q4, which this, in my humble opinion, is not a bear market. We're still in a bull market, right? So you can even look at Bitcoin seasonal pattern over the last 10 years, and seasonally, it's around that September period, between August and September, that you actually put in that major bottom, and then things will usually start to mark up. So to give the viewers a little bit of perspective, this is essentially the zone that you're in right now, would be the purple circled area, right? Again, looking at the halving cycle, looking at how many days left are within the bull run, following that final lull that we had in 2016, you went on for 455 days to put in the cycle top. Following the lull that happened just after the COVID dump that occurred in 2020. That was also a similar period where people thought that it was going to be a major bull trap, but instead it was a bear trap, and we ripped onwards and upwards for 399 days to put in the cycle top. And now we've gone through this corrective phase for almost 6 months on the dot, right? So you're looking for about another 406 days of continuation, and you can actually map out all these various different timing factors on the chart. Date-wise, that would put the cycle top in somewhere around the 3rd of October 2025, which means you have pretty much a year, right? A year to make all of your profits. And I believe right now we're just simply going through that corrective phase from top to bottom, 33% down, totally in the realm of normality when it comes to these crypto markets and Bitcoin. And we're looking at that 6-month mark to come in on the 12th of September. And historically, what we've seen is if you go from the post-halving date, I've marked off on the blue line over here, usually it's about 160 days after the halving cycle that the market starts to mark towards the upside. Or if you're looking from cycle low to 680 days later, the prior cycles also started to mark up. And I guess this will be a better visual perspective of what I mean by marking up, right? Currently, we are in the purple chart over here. This is our trajectory taken from the lows. So again, as mentioned, we're 654 days from essentially that cycle low. And if you put in cycle 4, this is what it looked like, right? So very, very soon after that, you start to mark up. Here is cycle 3, right? Very, very soon after that, you start to mark up. So you're looking at that markup phase to most likely occur sometime between the end of September and the beginning of October. And therefore, I think that now is time to be hyper alert, paying attention to the charts and not getting complacent, because from a seasonality perspective, it's not only crypto, right? As I mentioned, the major markets close their trading desks over a certain period of summer within the US markets. And you can see Dow Jones, S&P 500, NASDAQ, Russell, we have the FTSE, the DAX, all of them put in very, very lackluster gains over that time period. Crypto, commodities, it's all the various different markets. Now, if you look at the actual price action, because at the end of the day, price action is king. Your job is to essentially buy at a certain point and sell higher, or sell at a certain point and cover the shorts even lower. That's the differential, is where your profits are going to be made, right? So we do need to consider what the actual charts are showing us despite the seasonality, and we just need to have validation and invalidation levels. Now, there's one good thing about this chart. You are currently in a bullish pennant, right? You have a massive pole over here leading into a pennant where price is squeezing into this zone, and typically these areas break out when you reach the apex, and it usually moves in the direction of the prior trend, which you can see is up, right? You can actually work out the measured move by looking at this as a pole, and you literally, all you have to do is copy and paste that. Now, should you break out of this pennant, well, that will take Bitcoin up to $114,000. Again, chart patterns can morph and change. I have to be clear on that. You need to constantly reevaluate, but should that actually play out, well, that would take your target up into the $100,000 territory, territory, which is what we would expect for something like a major bull run comparing to the prior cycles, should we follow on with that trajectory, right? So that's one important thing. But clear levels to be looking at over here. We are capped below the 21 exponential moving average. Anyone can put that on their charts. You put the 21 EMA on a weekly time frame. Anytime that you're above it and it's angled upwards, it's good. Anytime you're below it and it's angled towards the downside, which unfortunately is currently the case, it's bad, right? The other thing is you're about to get a bearish engulfing candle on the weekly time frame, which is of course not good. I wouldn't panic yet because there's a lot of manipulation and chop in the markets right now. Remember, exchanges as well have targets to be met, and I guess this is speculation, call it a conspiracy theory, but sometimes they can manipulate the markets to create as many liquidations as possible, and that is when you have low volume periods, they might chop things up and down, right? So clear levels, invalidations on longs is if you do start to take out the 2-week low, which is coming in at $56,097. Any closes under that, and we may be in trouble, right? We may be going a lot lower at that point, but we will reevaluate. In the short term, right now, for any viewer that's watching this, we are coming into the at least range quarterly level at $58,068, which there is some buying demand that's stepping in. And you can actually see that right here on the order book. They're filling their orders right now on Binance. These are $1 million plus sized orders. So we consider that a whale sized order. Busy filling that order. Price is bouncing right now. So let's see if they can defend that. But on the opposite end of the stick, you do also have sizable orders, around $6 million worth of sell orders coming in at the top side of the trading range at just below $60,000. Now, I don't want to confuse anyone out there. Simply what this means is expect the continued chop, right? Expect the choppy environment that's here to send you packing, make you capitulate with time and frustration. And then later on, as I've showcased over here, is where you expect the major moves to start to take place. So I really encourage all of you, stick around, don't leave, right? All you have to do is stick around for this much longer, right? Literally 37 more days. So that's my thoughts on the market.
Yeah, it's such an in-depth analysis of everything going on as well. I think you covered so many good things there. And when we're looking at the market right now, as you had just said at the very end, this is the time where they try to shake you out. You always use the term they. The market tries to shake you out, right? There's just so much sideways action. And, you know, while some people say time in the market beats timing the market, it's hard to spend this much time in the market when the market seemingly is just trending sideways, up and down, 60, 56, 63, back to 58. It's just like, oh my gosh, when is this thing going to happen? You start to wonder, is my liquidity better used in other industries? But when you look at the overall grand scheme of things, what I've been saying on this channel, and then obviously your thesis as well, is you have to look at the big picture beyond the election season. And it looks like heading into the election season, that you said 37 days was the number?
Yeah, the elections, I believe, begin on the 5th of November. So that's just past that. But that actually lines up as well. You can go look back at all the prior election phases. And usually you see massive moves. I might actually have that on one of my charts. I'll have to have a look in a moment. And you'll have your turn and I'll look if I can find it. Oh, there it is. There you go. US presidential elections. What I can do is I can actually throw this onto the chart over here. There's actually indicators for everything out there. And what you can do is you can have a look. Let's just go through it. This is, again, lining this up with the halving cycle, leading into the election phase, Barack Obama era, massive parabolic run, right? Then you go to the next one, election phase right over there, following the halving cycle that came just before it. And then the Trump era, absolute behemoth pump towards the upside. There it goes. And even sleepy Joe Biden had his time, right? Election phase, Joe Biden, straight up. They line up with liquidity. M2 money supply ticks towards the upside. And I always said that Satoshi Nakamoto must have been an economic genius, because it seems like he planned the halving cycle to always be just before the election phase within the US, because he knows that when you go into the election phase, usually they want the market to be strong, right? Because otherwise they're going to lose votes. You need to have a healthy market. People can't be in a recession losing all of their money when they have to go and vote. They're going to be upset and vote for the other party. So usually that's exactly what takes place. And this is your monthly timing, right? We're looking at strong clearance above the 3-month key level. If we can get this month to close, which is very, very soon, right? We're in 1 day, 8 hours. If we can close that above $61,500, that'll be incredibly bullish.
Yeah. No, I think this timing works out perfect. And like you said, it is interesting that the halving and the 4-year cycles do coordinate very well with the election cycles. That is, yeah, whoever Satoshi was, definitely. I don't think that that's a coincidence. Like the year before the typical market top, we have the election season. You see a big trend up, probably a little consolidation after, but then we see the peak of the bull run, which I do also forecast being late next year. What are your thoughts right now on? Let's just go into the gaming sector quickly. I don't want to take too much of your time today. I know it's Friday and it's your evening, but with the gaming sector, personally speaking, and what we've been talking about here on this channel, is it recently feels like gaming hit a bottom as far as sentiment. Like a couple projects who raised 15 million, 20 million, 30 million dollars have now left Web3. They went back to Web2 games. They said, "Oh, this isn't for us." And like, it's kind of like a similar to a market capitulation of an FTX. It's not as severe, of course, but an FTX, a Celsius. You see people just fold their business in Web3, and it really makes you think like, what worse could happen? As gaming has had its trials and tribulations, but I think overall, the gaming sector has a lot of positives right now. I don't know if you've seen Off the Grid. It's a AAA game, looks amazing. I'm actually I bought a PlayStation weeks ago just so I can play the first Web3 game on PlayStation. Like I usually play games on my PC. It's just so cool to see where gaming's come. Obviously, Telegram gaming's very hot. Mobile games are really ticking up in activity. So I'm just curious on your overall thoughts, maybe on the gaming market, and maybe we can pull up some charts, maybe like Super, Beam, etc.
Sure. Yeah, we can have a look at some of those particular charts that you requested. I think with gaming, it's kind of going to be as soon as volume comes back into the market. So when you see stable coin supply increase and tick up alongside the M2 money supply, and they bring in some form of quantitative easing. And I'm also tracking the 7-day volume on exchanges over here. As soon as these things come back into the market, which you can see a small uptick, but you need it to be a little bit more aggressive, right? We want to see it increase. So you can see each cycle, right? 2017 cycle, exchange volume went up massively. 2021 absolutely dwarfed the 2017 cycle. And now we want this 24-25 cycles volume to dwarf 2021 and make it look like a blip, like 21 next to 2017. As soon as you see those volumes come back into the market, I believe that's where the things that are considered further down the risk curve, like gaming, will start to run. We know meme coins are very, very far down the risk curve. For some reason, it just seemed to be one of those meme coin kind of super cycles. I think gaming will have its turn. Eventually, people will start to move out. And we know those are where some of the top gains are made. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts, is that really people are just waiting for volume to come back into the market. If you look at Super, it did, of course, have a pump. So this is an example, right? This is also when meme coins had their massive move leading into the March tops. And you can see Super did insane 2,243% comparative to what you've seen in a lot of the meme coins. So I think if you're picking the right coin, as soon as the market turns, volume comes back in, retail comes back, that's where you start to see these things move, right? In terms of the chart though, this is the level to gain and to hold. You always ask yourself, did you gain a level or lose a level? The level to gain and hold above over here is 55 cents, right? So if Super can maintain above that, it's probably going to come back into that horizontal one more time to test it. And I would even expect it might drop a little bit lower, just above 50 cents, something like that. Watch for it to gain acceptance. That might be your first sign of a high low, because we're trying to time this alongside what Bitcoin does. So if you look at timing wise, again, you're looking for that high low to form at some point in September. And as long as it holds above these lows over there, it's going to be looking good. And it's going to be the same for most of those coins. And then October is where you want to see the higher high created. And then probably one more throwback into November, and then straight continuation. That's essentially the bull case of what you're going to be looking for. The bear case would be, that unfortunately it takes out this low. And if it does do that, well, you do have your next level, right? Your next level of major support is going to be coming in at 27 cents. I think that's less likely, just because of, based on what I think the rest of the market will do. I think the more probable outcome is you might do something like this and then form a major high low. So maybe the worst is over in terms of price wise, but a time-based capitulation, mentally people may still struggle as you go through that choppy period again.
Yeah, for sure. I think Super's been lining up some of the most bullish catalysts in the space, which is why I wanted to point out Super specifically. I think Elio's been doing a great job pushing more partnerships. I think over the last week they've partnered with 4 more games. I think there's like 20 games working with Super in total. The speculation is they're going to have their own chain eventually. So I think there's a lot of good things lining up for Super. So I think that's a good one. Can you take a look at Beam as well? BEAM.
Sure. I think I have it right over here. Let's just quickly grab it. All right. Okay,
Just another
so
one I
let's have
think
a look at
I think has a
Beam.
lot of good narratives.
Yeah, so we actually drew this up the last time I was with you, and you can see it actually came straight to that exact level. If I
Yeah.
extend it right, it was over here when we last spoke. Eventually, it came into that zone. So we'll just quickly mark out these zones and extend them a bit. So look, it is still downtrending, but I think very similar to what I just said with Super. I think that the worst may be over. That may be the exact bottom over there, and you're probably looking for now a little bit of a high low to be found somewhere around the mid range over here. But the trend really begins to shift if you can get above 0.0166. So 0.0166, I think that's the level to gain acceptance above. That would be considered a break of structure because this is simply your last lower high. So that's the level to take out. If you don't take that level out, this is going to be a strong level of support that's coming in at 0.010, which means that's your worst case scenario. You're coming into that zone one more time. Again, I think less likely. I think more than likely you're going to see something like this, and most of these markets are going to turn. You might chop a bit more, but I think those lows should be defended.
Yeah, I agree. I think Beam is lining up, especially with market cap and everything that they're building. I would agree. I don't think this goes under 1 cent, regardless of the market condition. I mean, obviously, if we have a cataclysmic dump, just a apocalyptic level dump, maybe it gets down below there. But for me, I think 1 cent would be the absolute floor, kind of what you just mentioned with that 0.01 level.
Sure. Yeah, you're not seeing picture perfect on this particular one, but this is almost across the board of altcoins. What I'm noticing is falling wedge formation, massive falling wedge formation, which is typically a bullish formation. And we're looking for a lot of these coins to start to break out very soon. I can actually just quickly find this chart. Give me 1 second. I think it's really, really important to have a look at. It's the ETH BTC chart alongside the Bitcoin dominance chart. And I have it right over here. Let's just bring that in screen. So this is obviously going to drive the entire market. This is your ETH BTC chart, right? And we know if ETH BTC goes up, Ethereum's outperforming Bitcoin, and usually that occurs when there's a little bit of an alt season, right? And as I just showed you on Beam, it has a resemblance to a falling wedge, but this is a clear falling wedge formation coming into very, very clear support for ETH BTC. So looking for some sort of a move to occur. It might take some time, but by the end of the year, I believe we probably break out of this. And you have a mirror image on the Bitcoin dominance, right? And you would expect if Bitcoin dominance breaks down from a rising wedge formation, which is a bearish pattern, and it's approaching the 60% resistance level, a breakdown in Bitcoin dominance, which is the exact mirror image of what you're seeing in ETH, should lead to the breakout of ETH BTC, which simultaneously should lead to a lot of these altcoins, which have very, very similar patterns as well, also breaking out.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like the sound of that a lot, and those charts are shaping up just like that. So let's hope, as Dylan calls it, the science plays out there. But I definitely think you're onto something there. And I'm curious too because I posted a tweet earlier this week. It feels like in the AI sector now that the AI sector has experienced a lot of fatigue. Whereas, I mean, it used to over the last year. A lot of these AI coins would ridiculously pump around the NVIDIA earnings. And this time around, it comes across and they over exceeded their earnings once again. Like it's literally a powerhouse of a company at this point. But AI coins, I noticed, didn't really do anything this time around. What do you think is the cause of that? Is it just a little bit of fatigue in the AI space? Or do you think there's now so many new projects, similarly to 2021 gaming, that are tagging on? They're like, oh, we're building an AI project. Here we go.
And now branding and things like that.
There's thousands of AI projects now, whereas maybe 6-7 months ago, it wasn't that way. So what are you seeing in the AI markets, and what do you think is causing maybe not as much volatile upside whenever it comes to the NVIDIA earnings?
Yeah, so what I think happened around the NVIDIA earnings is firstly, you have this chart, which is clearly extremely bullish, right? And now people are starting to call for a top and they're fearful and they think that this is going to break down from a major parabolic trend. Again, that's what it looks like. And they think that this is going to happen next, right? They think that something like this is going to happen and the stock market is going to go into the worst crash since we've seen in 2008. Basically, that's the thought process over here. And so consequently, every time one of the earnings comes out, they want better and better results. Even though they beat, in the speculator's mind, they didn't beat by enough. Let's say they beat by 15%, but they were like, no, we want them to beat by 30%. If they beat by 30%, then we're going to be bullish. 15% is not good enough, even though they beat, right? That is their mentality. And consequently, the price did obviously pull back a little bit over here. But this is still a super bullish pattern, right? You have price just range bound over here, chopping between these levels. And as long as it remains above the yellow line, which we actually looked at on one of my shows as a very key level to find support, right? When we're leading into the last earnings report, we said, well, just watch for this as the major support level. This is your order block that led into the big move up over here. And it's a clear area of horizontal support. Price came exactly into there, pushed towards the upside. Now, what I would say when it comes to NVIDIA, you can actually mark from the high down to the low, and you have a strong 50% level, which is right here where price is caught. Price tends to respect these 50% levels, 50% of the range, right? 115 for NVIDIA. I would look for some support over here to form the next higher low, and then probably just starts to continue and melt towards the upside. If it doesn't do that, well, I do believe it will find major support down at 90 again and just chop around a little bit longer, digesting that before moving up. So I think that, there are some signs and symptoms there that people are looking too heavy into AI. I don't know if you saw on Twitter, I've never seen this with stocks or anything. They said they're going to have an NVIDIA earnings watch party. Anyone that wants to come, the lady was hiring out a whole venue where anyone that wants to come can come and watch the earnings report. I mean, that's crazy. When it comes to crypto, I simply think that they correlate because they're looking for a narrative, right? There is no narrative right now. The market's flat, the market's boring, the volumes are low, and therefore the narrative becomes whatever happens with NVIDIA should happen with the crypto AI coins. So the fact that NVIDIA had this little down move, therefore nobody wants to buy the crypto AI coins, and consequently those go down. But long term, I do think that this cycle's top performers will be meme coins and AI.
Well, you answered my final question. I wasn't going to ask too much. I was like, do you still think we're in the meme coin super cycle? I think the answer would then be yes.
Yes, I do. I really do. I still think so. I think you have to be much, much more selective now about which coins you're picking because it just got so saturated. Now every chain has got a pump.fun launch pad for where anyone can launch a token. And it's obviously heavily diluting that market. But I do think there'll be certain winners. And as always, you want to bet big on the winners and hold those until the end of that trend.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like, it's the same thing I say with memes on my show. I only hold some of the top stuff. Sure, I'll speculate short term on certain things, but it's the same thing with gaming right now. It feels like people in gaming always want something new. And when in reality, like the only thing you should be buying in that market, if you're buying, is the top stuff. So people get a little bored, I think, because meme coins have now they've fried our brains like TikTok has to the youth at this point in time, where it's like we get those quick dopamine hits, a 5x in a week or whatever the case is on these meme coins, and you're like, well, what about gaming? Where's my next 5x? It just doesn't happen that way. And I do agree with you. Memes are definitely the main character of this cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Kyle, I appreciate you coming on. I know you're 8 hours ahead of me, so a little bit ahead of me. So I appreciate you joining me on this Friday evening. And it's always valuable to have you on the show and just really dropping a ton of alpha for our audience here as you dive so heavily into the technicals and the historicals and so much data that we really don't do here on this channel. So that was highly valuable, and I appreciate it as always, brother.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Let's hope that I join you again 6 weeks from now, and we're in the markup phase, ready to move into wave 5 of this bull run. Let's hope.
Right after the 37 days.
Exactly,
Yes,
exactly.
that works out quite well. Guys, if you enjoyed the show, like the video down below and subscribe. Kyle, your Twitter is just Kyle Dupes, right?
Yeah, at 𝗘𝗢𝗡𝗧. It's got a blue tick. Yeah, don't get scammed, guys. A lot of scammers
We'll drop
out
your
there.
link.
Amazing.
Yeah, we'll put the link down below for you guys. And obviously, catch his shows. You're on the main banter channel usually, right?
Yeah. Crypto banter. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can check out Kyle over there. I mean, his show is one of the most valuable across YouTube, I have to say, guys. So like the video, subscribe down below, help us get to that 100K mark. We want to hit 100K before we hit 100K Bitcoin. I think we're on track, but we need your help. So like and subscribe down below. And Kyle, have a great rest of your day, and we will see y'all on the next one. As always, play well and trade well, my friends.